iPhone Pro Maxes, Pixel Pro XLs, Galaxy Ultras, OnePlus flagships, Oppos, Vivos, Xiaomis, Honors, shy of the new Sony models, mostly because they're notoriously tricky to get review units from. I've tried all of the top tier smartphones this year, and somehow despite that, it's one of the less hyped ones that I keep returning to, and I'm planning on moving my SIM card into for full time in the next couple of weeks. It's not the newest, not the most luxurious in terms of hardware, it certainly doesn't even run my favourite software to make up for that fact. This is probably my phone of the year, and we've only just hit summer. By the way, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit subscribe. It costs nothing to you but means the world to me. Thank you so much. So I've been fortunate enough to check out not only the Vivo X300 Ultra, but also the Oppo Find X9 Ultra and the Xiaomi 17 Ultra, the holy trinity of Chinese ultras. And despite all of these three being magnificent phones in their own right, something keeps pulling me back to the Xiaomi. It's not the newest nor the most impressive if you take all of the hardware into consideration, but much like its predecessors, it seems to do something for me in a way that the other phones just don't, and in a way that I didn't really expect either. Over the course of the next few months, I think it's going to really show its true colours in terms of what it can do for me in the most important aspect of a smartphone in my opinion. But before we get to that stage, I want to talk about the details that Xiaomi has gone to lengths to implement that I think make the 17 Ultra stand out in particular. I raved in my initial review about the buttons on the side feeling absolutely tactile, along with the little Ultra plaque in the top corner of the camera, the wonderful starry green colourway. I mentioned the totally flat display, the distinct lack of a camera control or action button knockoff, and the super tight feeling haptic motors inside. These are all things that you only really appreciate when you hold and use the phone for yourself. But I also owe Xiaomi more praise. HyperOS feels way less like an iOS knockoff than I initially first thought, thanks to the lack of any kind of liquid glass. Please Xiaomi, please don't implement liquid glass. And the display gets insanely bright, something that I didn't really appreciate until I came from my OnePlus Open in one of the sunniest portions of the year. The Open's panels are fantastic, but this thing just takes it to another level. The brightness on here is incredible. The main reason I'd even consider one of these over another phone in the first place is of course the thing I'm always most excited about when looking at a new smartphone. That's the cameras, this giant dinner plate on the back. And the more I've used the system with the Leica Authentic colour profile enabled, the more I've come to appreciate just how well it deals with different shades, lighting scenarios, that kind of thing, just different situations. Sure, the 50 megapixel main camera isn't quite the same resolution as the 200 megapixel things that we've seen in the competition, but need I remind you, this has a larger sensor than those, at 1-inch type, which in reality isn't a huge amount larger, but it is still larger. And the shots that come out of this thing don't necessarily need to be high resolution in the first place. I've left my phone in the binned mode anyway, so you're looking at outputs closer to 12.5 megapixels. Where you'll see the real difference is in the way this phone handles colour, the shallower depth of field created by the main and telephoto sensors just being larger than most of the competition. Those are things that the naked eye can actually see and actually feel even on a small smartphone screen. And it's always something I appreciate when taking photos. I must say I'm not sure how much I really care about the 75 to 100mm 3 to 4 times variable zoom lens. It's a small window, so I guess it's kind of hard to notice. It's cool that the tech is here, but I would be shocked if it's here in the next iteration due to how maybe complicated or expensive it is to implement. I think a standard 3.5 would be absolutely fine. And I'm also not here saying that this camera system is overall objectively the best. I think other brands do certain things better, but for my fun snaps out and about using the authentic mode, and with this particular 1-inch main and beefy 200 megapixel telephoto, it takes precisely the kind of photos that I want my mobile to take. And that's something I can't quite put my finger on. I guess I don't want clinical footage or photos. I don't mind if my eyes see it a little differently to how the camera sees it. I think maybe master mode from Oppo maybe does it a smidge better, but the authentic on the Xiaomi really does it for me. And though it can't quite compete with the Oppo nor the Vivo in pure battery capacity, this is a measly 6000 mAh battery compared to the 6600 and 7100 of the direct competition. But I say that in jest because in reality it's still way larger than the Pixel Pro XL or the Galaxy Ultra. It still manages to get me through 2 full days regularly. This is a mammoth battery. I'm not complaining about the 90 watt wired or 50 watt wireless charging either. Like, sure, it doesn't win any awards, but it's still comfortably better than the mainstream competition. It still charges 0 to 100% in under an hour, which for a battery of this size is pretty nuts. It never gives you range anxiety, and sure, I'm a bit of an old man. I don't doom scroll social media despite what some of my B-roll would suggest. It is illustrative. I think what makes this phone just so good in my eyes is that it doesn't have like an annoying irk or quirk that really puts me off. The Oppo has the camera control thing, the Vivo's camera processing is a real letdown, Samsung's camera hardware in general is a mixed bag. Don't get me started on the state of iOS, and Honor's software is just a bit too iOS-like for me. But this sort of hits a really nice middle ground. It isn't perfect, don't get me wrong, brand new for the 512GB SKU, it's anywhere from around £1,000 to £1,300, depending on where you buy it from. That is a lot of money, though it's still quite reasonable compared to the Chinese competition at the top tier. It'll also receive only 5 major OS upgrades, taking it to Android 21. That's pretty good, but it's not quite the elite level of Google or Samsung's offerings. And MIUI's ads do come across a little bit more like ads than Samsung's, Apple's and Google's. And yes folks, those companies are putting ads in their phones, just how they package it makes them feel a little bit more integrated, whereas these do actually feel like ads. This is as close to a complete Chinese Ultra as I think we've ever got. It doesn't feel like an iPhone knockoff in hardware or software, which is always a great start for one of these things. Its display, performance, battery life are all superb. The camera is one of the most characterful of a modern smartphone, and that is big praise. And the fit and finish is simply at a level I'm not sure I've ever felt in any other smartphone, particularly when you take into account it still has the IP69 rating, gorgeous buttons and a colourway to go with. I didn't expect this to be my phone of the year because in the past Xiaomi hasn't delivered what I consider to be the best all-round product. It's been up there, but it's never really been the pinnacle, and what makes it especially impressive in 2026 is that Vivo and Oppo have also stormed out the gate with such incredible hardware that if there was ever going to be a really tough year to crack, this would be the one. And yet here it is, an absolute masterstroke. The Xiaomi 17 Ultra is one of the very best phones you can buy on the European market right now. But beyond that, it's my favourite. Because, well, it balances everything that I personally want in a phone. Big battery, great primary and telephoto cameras, and a phenomenal design.